This here is the Nikon ZR, my first ever Nikon camera. It is basically the love child between Red and Nikon. Because Nikon have now acquired Red, they're one and the same company, Nikon are able to incorporate all of Red's technology in their own cameras. And that means this is the first in Nikon's range of Z cinema cameras in partnership with Red. So it's got this Nikon Red logoing here on the back of the camera. And it basically features in it, internally, R3D RAW NE, which is a 12-bit dulled down version of Red's very own 16-bit R3D RAW. And if you know anything about filmmaking, then you'll know what Red is and who Red are. And if you don't, well, Red were a company that made cameras like the Red Komodo, Red Monstro, the Red V Raptor. These are all names that I'm throwing at you that you might or might not know about, but they're all professional grade cinema cameras which produce a very unique look that have been used in high grade productions, filmmaking, cinematography, Hollywood, all of that. And they're a fantastic range of cameras which before now were not accessible to your standard public. However, since Nikon have now taken over them, it means that we now have access to cameras with Red RAW in them for a price as little as £2,200 here in the UK. And that makes it a very, very accessible camera for content creators, beginner cinematographers, beginner filmmakers, beginner videographers, whatever you want to call yourself. That not only contains that dulled down 12-bit R3D RAW NE. I guess the NE stands for Nikon edition or new edition. I don't know. They haven't really made it very clear yet. But it does have R3D RAW. But it also has two other flavors of RAW internally in here. You've got ProRes RAW HQ, and you've also got Nikon's own NRAW. So you've got three formulas of RAW, plus you've got ProRes 422 HQ, and you've also got 420 H.265 10-bit. You've got H.265 8-bit and H.264 8-bit codecs in this camera. So you've got a whole range of very usable codecs in this camera on top of that Red RAW, as well as the exact same sensor as Nikon's own Z6 Mark III, making this a very, very capable camera. Now, why do I care so much? Why has this excited me so much? So a little bit of story time. I have mentioned this on my page before, but a couple of months ago, I got together with a friend of mine who has a Red Komodo X, and we shot a spec ad together for my Gomatic 25 liter backpack. And when doing that, or whilst doing that, I got to play around with his Red Komodo X, as well as obviously he gave me all of the footage for that spec ad so that I could edit it out. And you know, I've shown that on my page before and it's still there on my channel. And when I used and played with that and I edited that footage, the quality coming from that Red Komodo X was amazing. It blew my mind how great it was. It was the first time I'd ever experienced Red RAW, but I was really, really blown away by how good that footage was. Not only was it super high quality, but the footage itself was really easy to grade. The whole Red workflow was really great. And though the file sizes were massive, I still think that the quality coming out of it was just insanely good. I'm still at awe about how great it looked. And comparisons between the Nikon ZR and cameras like the Komodo X and slightly more expensive versions of Red's cameras like the Monstro or the V Raptors have shown that the footage coming out of this guy is very similar in quality and almost indistinguishable to the naked, untrained eye to those cameras, which really amazed me when I saw the early pre-release reviews of this thing, which meant that I now possibly had access to a camera that produced that similar level of quality to that Red Komodo X that I played around with, but at a fraction of a cost, because buying and building out something like a full rig for the Red Komodo X would cost me tens of thousands, if not 20,000 plus pounds. I don't know what the exact price range was, but it would be very, very expensive. Whereas buying something like the Nikon ZR with its minimal price range in comparison to that would be something a lot more affordable. So I did what any sane, insane person like myself would do, and I traded in my Sony ZV-E1. So the Sony ZV-E1 that I have been shooting all of my content on for the past year and a half or more, I sold that and I used that money and I purchased the Nikon ZR. I still have my Sony a7C II. I haven't left the Sony ecosystem. I haven't made a complete switch over. This is a camera that I can use with all of my Sony lenses actually, and that was another reason that I wanted to get it, because through the use of this guy, which is the Megadap adapter for Sony E mount to Nikon Z mount, I can mount all of my Sony E lenses to the Nikon ZR and get full autofocus, and yes, it performs just as well as it would do with native lenses. So I only actually own one native Nikon Z mount lens, and that is the kit lens that this came with. I actually bought it with the kit lens, so it comes with a 24-70 f4s, and I've basically not used that because I've been using all of my E-mount lenses with this thing, and that is why it was so fantastic, and that is why I got this. Not only does it have red raw at a very reasonable price point, but I can still use all of my E-mount lenses without fully switching camera systems and still get perfect results because the autofocus works pretty much just as well. That being said, what is my thoughts on this thing? I'm not going to give you a detailed review because I've got one of those coming up later on. But in first instances, when I first picked this thing up, I really liked it. It gave me that feel that the Sony ZV-1 gives, which is a very minimalistic, simplistic feel. It is my first Nikon camera, so I didn't really know how to work the camera first. But getting used to the menu system, getting used to the controls and everything like that wasn't too hard for me because I am used to the simplistic controls of the Sony ZV-1, which made it a lot more easy for me to get accustomed to this. This does come with something very unique, which is this massive 4-inch flip out screen, and this is a 4-inch DCI-P3 screen with 1000+ nits of brightness on it, which makes it super bright even in bright sunlight. And it basically means I don't need to use a monitor for this camera in most situations because this much bigger high quality screen makes focusing and monitoring my footage a lot easier. And it's fully touchscreen, it's fully articulating, so I can still use it as a vlog cam if I wanted to. And it's just great because when I now pair this with the screen on my Sony a7C2, the one on the Sony a7C2 just looks laughably small. So yes, this is another fantastic feature of the ZR that made me want to buy it. It also has other great features like internal recording of 32-bit float audio, which is something that I think all cameras nowadays should have. It's got all of your standard kind of ports that you'd want. You know, you've got a microphone port, you've got a headphone monitoring port, you have a USB-C port, and you've got a HDMI port, but it is a micro HDMI port, which is something that not a lot of people were happy about because they were like, it's a cinema camera, why does it have a micro HDMI port? And I completely agree with that. But for me and my own personal workflow, I've been using the Sony a7C2 and the ZV-1, both of which have micro HDMI ports, and the fact that it's got such a big screen means that I'm probably not going to be attaching an external monitor to it in most situations. However, even if I am, I think when I do put this into the full smaller cage, right now I've got this half cage attached to it, which gives me a little bit of a better grip. I'll get to that in a second. When I put the full cage on it, it does have this little cable clamp, which I can put onto it, and it means that my cable is safe and I can lock that in. And I've also got the option of using SmallRig's micro HDMI to full HDMI cable kind of extension, converter, adapter, whatever you want to call it. And that gives me access to a full HDMI port as well, and that can kind of lock in, and that way I don't really need to worry about the whole cable wobble and destroying the port kind of nonsense that happens with the micro HDMI port, which makes it so unpopular amongst those who own cameras. The other thing is it does have a very limited number of buttons on it, which is for me again fine. I have set it up in a way so that it maximizes the functionality of the camera with the minimal layout that it does have. Everything else I can do via the touchscreen, so it's not really a problem for me. And the other quirk of this camera, actually two quirks of this camera, is that the memory card slots are at the bottom where the battery door are, which really isn't a big problem. And other creators have said that really in the workflow that you're going to be using this camera in, you're not really going to have a problem with switching out the cards. Now, the other thing is it does feature dual memory card slots, but one of them is a CF Express B slot. So I've got here my nice little Angelbird 1TB CF Express B, and the other slot is a micro SD card slot, which is a very odd choice. I don't know why Nikon made this choice, but they did. But I'm presuming it's more for using for the photography side of things because it does have that video photo switch at the top. And the other thing is that this camera actually opens up really fast. So if I turn it on, it turns on. There you go, I'm pressing it at the top. Turn off, turn on, turn off, turn on. It's lightning fast when it turns off and on. So that's a big bonus. So enough of me blabbing about what this camera is about. What do I think after using it for a couple of weeks now? Well, my basic impression of this thing is that it is fantastic. I absolutely love this. I think this is probably now my all-time favorite camera to use just because of how great it is. I've used it for both video and photo, not for any intensive projects. I've still been testing and learning how to use this before I use it on an actual project, just because I'm new to the system, I'm new to red, I'm new to color grading it. So I'll be very honest, I haven't used it on any professional shoots yet or anything too fancy. I've used it for a couple of reels and YouTube videos inside the house, and also for a little bit of kind of street or architectural photography while I've been out and about, as well as some product shots indoors. Overall, video-wise, the Red Raw NE is absolutely insane. I love it. It's fantastic. Yes, again, massive file sizes, but who cares? It's so good that I'm willing to sacrifice that storage for this. I'm happy to spend a little bit more on storage to be able to get the most out of this camera, because the Red Raw is exactly why I bought it, and that's what I intend to use in terms of video from this camera. But also, alternatively, if I do want smaller file sizes, then I can still use that H.265 10-bit. And really, from my own personal experience and use, I think that it's more than usable. It's really, really good. If you look here on screen now, you'll see a little bit of a comparison of what a talking head video of me would look like with the Red Raw NE versus the H.265, and I think both look really, really good. I mean, the H.265 looks fantastic. Some people have said it's a bit mushy and it's not really that usable, but I don't think so. I disagree. I think that once you've worked with the footage enough and you've got your power grades in place, then I think you can get the footage to look the way you want it to. You can sharpen the image up. It just looks great. I think that some of the reels that I've filmed with it have actually looked really, really good, and I've been very impressed with the way that performs. But the Red Raw NE is what I want to talk about. It is crisp, it is sharp, it is really good to work with, and I've been loving the flexibility that comes from Red Raw. Yes, exposing Red Raw is a little bit more tricky, but I've kind of gotten the hang of it now, and because I've built a few custom LUTs for myself that help me expose in camera, that's made it a lot more easier for me to kind of nail my exposures down a little bit better, because it is a little bit more tricky to expose in this camera. I'm not going to go into all the details of that because that's not what we're here for today. But overall, you know, using this has been an absolute joy. The form factor is great. Without the half cage, it does come with a bit of a flat grip, and that's what I did want to touch on. The flat grip is a bit of a problem, which means that without a cage, it does feel a bit awkward to use and it's not as full in your hands. But adding this half cage from Small Rig basically solves that problem, and it doesn't really add much additional bulk. It feels just like a full frame camera would with that half cage on. But you throw the full cage onto it, and if you want to rig this camera up, then you can absolutely rig it up. I have done so as well, and it works fantastically like that too. But if you want to use it as a run and gun camera, then using it with the half cage is probably your best solution, and it works just as well. It's got great IBIS. It's not fantastic, it's not the best IBIS in the business, but the IBIS works just as well. If you're not really confident using it handheld, like I'm not, then just chuck it on a gimbal and you're good to go, because it's still lightweight and portable enough that you can use it on a gimbal. Now, usually I pair it with the Sigma 24mm f1.4 art lens, which I'm actually using to film this video right now, so I can't show you what it's like right here, but I'll throw some B-roll on the screen just to show you guys what that looks like. And this is basically the combo that I've been wanting to use with this camera. So all in all, I think that the Nikon ZR is a fantastic camera. I mean, they have not paid me. I bought this with my own money. I have been very excited. This is the first time I've ever bought a camera pretty much on release, and I have no regrets because I think it's a fantastic camera. I am so excited to do so much more with it and explore what this thing is capable of and push it to its limits and basically get every penny out of it. And I've seen so many great creators pick this up and praise it for what it is. It's not without its flaws. It definitely has its flaws and limitations. But again, I'm not going to get too much into the details of this because I'll leave that for the full review. But despite all of those, it is a fantastic camera. Massive screen, Red Raw, internal recording. You've got 32-bit flow audio internal recording as well. You've got a digital hot shoe. You've got Z mount, which offers a great range of lenses, but you've got that option with the Mega Dub adapter, or from Viltrox, who also have an E to Z adapter, to mount all of your Sony lenses or various other mounts of lenses, because the Z mount is one of the most flexible mounts to use, and you can actually adapt so many different types of lenses to it. It's fantastic. So basically, I don't have to worry about spending extra on lenses because I can just use all of my E-mount lenses, like I said before. And that means that I've still got access to those fantastic lenses that I've got, like the Tamron 28-75, which I absolutely love, and makes this a very versatile workhorse for my content creation and beyond into my commercial and freelance work that I also do. All in all, Nikon ZR, highly recommend it if you are in for an upgrade or you are looking to get an additional body and you're confused about what kind of camera to get. And I would definitely say, for the price, the Nikon ZR is a great choice, especially if you're a Sony user. You'd still be able to mount all of your lenses, so it's not really like switching systems, but you've just got access to a fantastic new codec, and firmware updates is probably going to make this thing a lot better. And remember, this is the first iteration of a Z Cinema camera, so you're probably going to get newer versions of this thing over the coming years, which means that these are going to get better and better. So, you know, you might even see me making a full switch over to Nikon, just because these guys are probably going to be great and they're probably going to take over the industry. I'm not going to go as far as saying this is a FX3 killer or a C50 killer or whatever it is. It's a great camera of its own. Those are fantastic cameras on their own as well. It's a great camera for what it is, and I've got my own intentions with this, and that's why I bought it. So I'm going to go and enjoy this a bit more. I'm going to leave you guys with what I have here. I hope you guys have enjoyed that video of me rambling about this new camera and being all excited about it. I did talk a lot about it in the unboxing video that I did of it, but I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit more of my kind of first initial impressions of the ZR, and here it is. So if you have any comments about whatever I said, then please do leave it below. If you did enjoy the video and me rambling on in any way whatsoever, then do leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button, I guess. Until next time, this is Kai24 signing out.